Hi, welcome, beloved Intrepid viewers. I think we've just about seen a lot in the last week, have we not, to demonstrate that Donald J. Trump is in fact not up to the job of being President of the United States. Now, this wasn't news to us all. Indeed, it was not news. However, his interview on Fox, I didn't see the actual visual interview. I read about it afterwards. I'm sure most of you have either seen it, and if you haven't, please go back and look. It went for about an hour, and during that time, he, sprouted the usual conspiracy theories. He also bagged out poor Marie Yovanovitch yet again, this time because she didn't put his picture on her office wall. Like you'd want a picture of the Yeti to greet you every morning when you went to work. I mean, can you imagine? There was that. But his comments on Hong Kong, can you believe it? So he's claiming that single-handedly he's the reason Hong Kong is still standing. He implies that he stopped China nuking Hong Kong. He said Hong Kong would have been obliterated in 14 minutes or something. Like he stood there and fought with the Chinese government or something. What is he saying? What is he even implying with this? And then said, oh, we support Hong Kong and I support President Xi. Well, you can't support Hong Kong and China in relation to this issue. Demented stuff. But he wasn't finished, was not finished. He went on to say, I want corruption. I want corruption. I tell this to everybody. How bizarre. He was let out without his minders and didn't have his own handwritten notes. Probably he was meant to say, I want investigations into corruption or something. But no, he said it. I want corruption. What are they going to do with this man? So the Republicans still are presenting, the concrete wall. They must be freaked out, viewers. They must be freaked out. And they'd have to be thinking about the 25th, wouldn't they? The 25th Amendment, which allows them an out. They're not keen on it for a whole range of reasons, because the base would be, hostile to them and so forth. However, are they prepared to let this go on? Will they use the 25th? I mean, that could be the way they twist his arm to resign. Because I've always thought, not unlike a lot of readers actually, that he wouldn't get fully impeached. Yes, the Dems will do their half of the job, but he wouldn't get as far as a proper impeachment, either because the lily-livered GOP puts themselves before country, or because he has to go with a deal, slither out from under like the reptile that he is. So I read on the 25th Amendment, if anyone wants to go back and look after this and see how they're the same or different, because things have changed a lot. And I can't remember what was going on then. So now I'm going to use the Japaridze deck, beautiful deck, and seeing how they service for this. So are the GOP thinking about the 25th? Oops, what fell out? The magician. I'll leave that out, shall I? I must be thinking about it. Are the GOP thinking about the 25th? So when we're talking about the GOP, we're talking about Moscow, Mitch, Leningrad, Lindsay. It's got to come from those upper echelons. You're not going to convince the Jim Jordans and so forth, the Mitt Romneys and stuff are fundamentally decent and will probably be one of the handful of those who vote against the party and vote for impeachment. But it's got to come from them. Will they go the 25th with Trump? Will they go the 25th? All right. I'm trying new things. This picture might be a bit fuzzy. Sorry, it's more glary than I expected, but I've tried to raise the computer up a bit and hopefully we'll get more card space. So, bang in the middle, we have the Magician. Behind that, ooh, under that, ooh, on top, near, oh, viewers. I was going to do a much bigger spread, try and look at the details. Oh, Lord have all the mercies. Look at this. I'll show you one by one. In the middle, the Magician, the card of transformation. The Magician is an alchemist and makes things happen. So obviously, there's good magic and not so good magic. So the point being, they're going to have to, this is talking about right now, the need to transform. So they either have to pull out what's left of their patriotism as Americans and do some magic to try and move him out of the picture, or not. That they are these craven, self-serving amoebas who are prepared to sell the country down the river and will use just as much energy to do that. So that's our central card, immensely powerful, major arcana, the Magician. So in tarot, we look for context. So here we go. Behind this issue, the Death card, I think his recent behaviour plus the impeachment hearings that are hard to spin, mind you, they keep trying, ghastly, ghastly people, but they know it's the death knell. On some level, they've sensed the blood in the water now. And on top of that, this interview with Fox. What's underneath their thinking as they go? So this was behind the issue, but this is more, this card, the placement is more about them, and they're at war. And they're essentially at war with each other as well as with the Dems. It's taking the face of they're at war with the Dems. But really, they are massively at war with themselves. But on top of that, they think they're in a culture war. It's this whole fake religiosity of some of these evangelical players. And frankly, I struggle to find a Christian fibre in their being, viewers. But in any event, they know they're in a war. So the Jester of Fire, or the Page of Fire, this is a message coming to them. It's like Trump's hair's on fire. It's like they are on fire. Right, so this is the message. These are big cards. Okay, and you couldn't script it, could you? Outcome, the Tower. But look here, these are three major arcanas: the Death card, the Magician card, and the Tower card. Smack, 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 behind and in front. They've got to work some magic in the middle. What on earth are they going to do? Because you can't trust them to be decent. I mean, everyone forgets that by comparing it to Nixon, and even though Republicans supported Nixon by and large, you know, right till the hearing started and all of that, once it was demonstrated that he'd been culpable of these illegal criminal acts, people say, but these guys won't. Biden's come out and said Trump has something on Lindsay. code for, we can only guess, can we not, viewers? So Lindsey Graham has got to watch his back, A, for blackmail, and B, because he could be frosted out too. He has been such a blatant sellout. It is not good for the Republican Party. So I want you to take heart, viewers, even if the worst happens, seemingly, which is it gets as far as an impeachment trial, and despite everything, they don't impeach. Where does that leave them as a party? Right? Who could possibly support them apart from the 25%? Who could possibly support them? Oh, Lordy. Lordy, Lordy. So the other thing, we thought the testimonies were ending, but as Nancy Pelosi said, you know, you talk about these things and what some people testify leads to other things. I'm waiting, I'm sure you are. I want to hear from the big guns. I want to hear from Pence. I want to see Mulvaney on the stand. I want to see Pompeo on the stand. Perry, the energy minister. So why aren't they calling them? Well, A, they might be, and we don't know yet, but they don't seem to be. Is that because they think of all of those, they're going to say no, including Giuliani, they're going to say no, and then there's court cases to make them speak, and then because they're so terrified of the Yeti, they won't speak, and it could all lose momentum. It's a fair enough concern, but it is frustrating they're not going to speak. Are they? So where are the Dems at with all this now? You know, they've managed it very well. You know, they've taken the high ground. They've been really sane and sensible. They've been dignified in the face of the total bulldozing rubbish that has gone down. So where are they at with the impeachment stuff? You know, behind the scenes, where are they at? Where are they at? I was pleased that Nancy said we'll be voting before the end of the year. I think it's finding a balance. You don't want it to be too quick and Republicans just say no and kill it before Christmas. So I think that's a really good move because it forces them into the election cycle. But what is their plan? You've got to admire Adam Schiff, don't you? But I still think, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, intrepid ones, I think you keep the very measured Pelosi, you keep the very measured Adam Schiff, but you let go that next tier, let the Elizabeth Warren, let Buttigieg, let all of them go for it and say what needs to be said. But I was pleased Biden threw a bit of mud back on Lindsey Graham. But let's see. Concentrate, Lena. Where are Dems at with the impeachment stuff? Where are they at? Temperance. Sorry about the muttering. It's part of the process. Muttering must be done. Oh, Knight of Swords. They get the tower too. So there's several interpretations for that in relation to the Dems, and I will do some clarifiers. But in the middle, the Seven of Wands, they're in the heat of the battle, you know, absolutely surrounded by fire on all sides from these avaricious, moronic titans of absolute, I think they're collectively, there's a collective derangement with the GOP being quite disturbed. So the Dems are surrounded by fire and feeling they're in the hot seat, but they're okay. Behind them, temperance, balance, harmony. They're keeping it together. Right? Now, here we have the Ace of Discs. So Ace is a new energy. It's underneath, like, I think this is the energy to keep them going. Discs are, you know, pentacles, discs, coins. We always jump to the money thing. But in this deck, we're reminded that it's an earth card. It is the Ace of Gardens, meaning a solid foundation for this new series of events that needs to happen. So the Knight of Swords, this is a somewhat impulsive knight. So you might get someone in the Dems, I've just finished talking about that, someone who actually does away with the niceties and is actually personally offended or has been by Trump and now speaks truth to power, just goes for it in a way we haven't seen from the Dems. Ooh, I wonder who that is. That's interesting. Now, they too get the Tower. Now, it's early days. We're a year away from the election. So I don't think the Dems are at risk of their Tower moment in relation to this reading, which is about now, right? They have their own issues next year. They've got to pick a front runner from, in many ways, a very good field, and that can be a problem in itself. And they have to decide between the old guard and the new and all of that. But I don't think this is speaking to then. This reading is now the contemporary, what they're thinking. They are worried. They're surrounded by these aggressive, but almost self-immolating GOPers. So I think they're concerned, and rightly so, that if they don't get it right, this could be America with the Tower and lose the structures and the values and the processes that Americans hold so dear. I think they're really afraid. And don't forget, I don't mean afraid, I just mean really concerned. It's that bad, because don't forget, they know more than we do. We know enough to be very worried about what these people can do. Grand old party. How dare they? They're leaving in droves, by the way. So they're seriously worried, and I'm just hearing bar here. If you've got the Department of Justice, you're okay. So let's just back up for a minute. What does a democracy need to function? They need elections where people can go without fear. They need an independent media, good, bad, or ugly, but there has to be independent media over and above corporate media. So every country has corporate media and some have state media, and you guys have Fox, but you also have corporate media. There's very little independent media, but nonetheless, there's good independent journalism, both in print and on screen. So you've still got the Rachel Maddows, you've still got the Washington Post, you've still got the New York Post. So, okay, so democracies need safe elections. They need independent media. They need a good, well-funded, well-resourced public education system. Now that goes in the debit column. That's not happening. You know, there's some states where the teachers are only going 3 days a week and aren't being paid enough to go 5, and schools are shutting and kids are in demountables. Like in Australia, we've got thousands of kids who are in demountable classrooms for their entire schooling lives. And, you know, it's part of the starving of public education. That's the fourth thing. But the fifth thing, the really important one, no matter what's happening with these, the important one is a strong independent judiciary. And they are seriously frightened with what's happened already to the DOJ. Right? And they should be concerned, and we should all be concerned. It is not a good precedent. But you'd have to think it's a very big organisation with very deep roots. You would have to think there are those in the DOJ who are looking very closely at William Barr. Right? So, back to that. I was so blown away by the first reading. To sum it up, I would say they'd be talking about the 25th. I don't know if they'll go there, but I think it could be a front to make him sign a letter and go out on medical grounds or something to let him off the hook, you know. Slither is the word I hear for him, slither. What does that tell you? Okay, so back to this, what's happening for the Dems. I'm just going to do a little clarifier or two. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Oh, sorry, viewers. Unexpected income. For a start, if Bloomberg does nothing else, he's about to launch the most expensive political ad campaign in the history of the world, literally. I'm glad it's on this side of the fence and not the other, but this has got to stop, this competitive campaigning. But for now, we'll take it. It's a good thing. He is prepared to throw money at these ads. Then in the middle, this is curious, this is still the Dems, they've got the thief card. Who is stealing what? Who is stealing what? So if I look at this card next to the unexpected income, you'd have to be a bit concerned too. So in other words, if this is Bloomberg, it could also be Tom Steyer and some of the other big money thing. A lot of Hollywood actors and stuff who are cashed up would be doing it. But there's an element of theft somehow involved, which is not good news. We'll have to keep our eye closely on that. And another good card for them, the gift. The gift that keeps on coming. So, aren't they pretty cards? Look at the gift. Isn't it gorgeous? But also, when you look at the thief, it's sort of the older wealthy man being pickpocketed by the young poor boy. So you have to think of this symbolically. Where is the theft coming in? So there might be a bit of a scandal with some of the second and third tier candidates who have got money and who that's what I think it is. Someone's got money from supporters and they've now withdrawn from the race. Keep an eye out for that. All right. Some murky money business. But because it's surrounded by these more benevolent cards, I don't think it's not at a high level of the Dems. Second, third down, I think expect a financial scandal. Now, before I leave this reading and before I leave these cards, the Japaridze, I want to have, I can't get enough of Giuliani, I can't tell you. This is Trump's worst nightmare. The big fallout with Giuliani, which is, if it hasn't already happened, it must have happened. Their lawyers will be saying, don't talk to him. The other lawyers will be saying, don't talk to him. And it's gone too far now, you know. Just a quick look in at Giuliani. There's calls for him to be disbarred. Giuliani. Just a little four-carder. Oh, he's juggling. Yeah, this is... Oh, and the deceit. And the 7 of discs, dear me. Yeah, things are not good for Giuliani and they're not going to get better for Giuliani. Right, so on top, 2 of Gardens or 2 of the juggle. He's trying to keep his ass out of jail, really. It's not that elaborate, but he's keeping the balls in the air because he has Lav and Igor to worry about, and in fact the Russian oligarchs. He's failed to declare himself a foreign agent. He has abused his position of power as attorney for the president and fused all that, and he's been named and named and named in the testimonials as behind the Ukraine, famously by John Bolton, the drug deal that is Ukraine foreign policy. So yeah, he's juggling right now, and his lawyers are talking to him about subpoenas. This is what I'm picking up on. This is the energy. This is Trump and Giuliani at each other now. It's going to be the last man standing. Last man standing, because both of them are not going to walk away. And I think Trump's more likely to walk away. That leaves Giuliani back in the bear pit. The moon. Lies, deceit, and treasonous behaviour. And the Seven of Discs, it's the fantasist card. Giuliani is still fantasizing. The fact he still thinks the balls are in the air is enough of a giveaway, because as far as he's concerned, like from an outsider looking in, his number is up well and truly. And this is the card of illusion, delusion. So, guys, it's just so amazing to have you all on board. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm not taking any new people for learning tarot, but I am still taking routine readings, personal readings, past life readings. They're fine. So get in touch if you want to do that. Okay. Ciao. Have you had Thanksgiving yet? If not, have a good one. Bye.